Have you ever stopped to truly ask yourself why, with all the effort you are pouring in, with all the sacrifice, all the planning, all the hoping, the financial result still feels just slightly, permanently, inexplicably out of reach? Not almost there, not close, sealed. Like you are standing in front of a door you cannot see, pushing against something you cannot name, and nothing you have tried has moved it even an inch. Have you ever felt that? Not as a dramatic moment, as a quiet, grinding daily fact of your life. I want you to sit in that question for just a moment before I answer it, because most people do exactly what I am about to ask you not to do. They feel that question, it rises up in them, and they immediately swat it away. They find the next hustle, the next advice, the next shortcut. And I understand why. When something hurts, we reach for motion. We reach for the feeling of doing something. But I need you to stay with that question for just a breath, because that discomfort you are feeling right now, that quiet restlessness, that is the exact sensation of standing at the threshold of understanding something you were never supposed to learn. My name is Rabbi Naomi, and I have spent 33 years inside the Talmudic and Kabbalistic traditions, not as an academic exercise, but as a living practice passed directly to me by teachers who received it from their teachers in an unbroken chain going back hundreds of years. My grandfather carried this wisdom through circumstances so severe that simply surviving was considered miraculous. And yet, within 8 years of arriving in a new country, with nothing but the clothes he traveled in, he had built something that sustained 3 generations. When I was young, I thought it was luck. When I got older, I thought it was discipline. It was only in my 30s, when I finally began to understand what he actually practiced, that I realized it was neither of those things. It was precision. It was an exact, ancient, almost mathematical relationship with money at the level of the spirit. And today, I am going to teach you one of the most quietly powerful principles from that tradition. Before I go further, type the words "odd means open" in the comments right now. Write it before we continue. In the tradition I was raised in, a declaration made publicly is not merely an expression of intention. It is a signal. It tells the universe which frequency you are choosing to operate on. Odd means open. Write it now. Now I want to tell you something you have probably never heard, and I want to tell it to you plainly without softening it or stretching it into a mystery longer than it needs to be. Jewish families that have maintained wealth across multiple generations. Not wealth that was inherited passively, but wealth that was actively cultivated, protected, and multiplied across time, carry their cash in a very specific way. They do not carry round numbers. They do not carry even numbers. They carry an odd number of bills, not as a quirk, not as a coincidence, as a deliberate, intentional, taught practice that has been transmitted within certain families for centuries. And when you understand the reason behind it, something in you is going to recognize it, not as new information, but as something you already knew and had somehow forgotten. Most people hear this and think, that cannot matter. It is just paper. It is just numbers. And I understand why you might think that, because we have been raised in a world that treats money as a purely physical object, something you earn, spend, save, and stress about, but ultimately something that only responds to physical-level actions. More hours worked, more income streams, more budgeting apps, more willpower and discipline and sacrifice layered on top of more willpower and discipline and sacrifice. And listen, none of that is wrong. Effort is not the enemy. Strategy is not the problem. The problem is that you have been applying excellent strategies to the wrong layer of the problem. And you can do that for 20 years and still feel exactly the way you feel right now. Think about water. If there is a pipe in your home and the pipe is cracked 12 meters below the surface, you can paint the walls above it. You can retile the floor. You can install better fixtures. The house will still slowly, quietly, persistently suffer from what is broken underneath. And this is what I see. In 33 years, I have seen this so many times, it no longer surprises me. This is what I see in households where intelligent, hardworking, spiritually aware people cannot understand why their finances have a ceiling. The ceiling is not in the strategy. The ceiling is not in the effort. The ceiling is in a layer of awareness and relationship with money that no spreadsheet can reach. Now, I am not going to tell you that discipline and strategy alone produced lasting wealth, because if that were true, the statistics would not look the way they do. Millions of disciplined, strategic, hardworking people remain financially stuck, not because they are doing too little, but because they are only working in one layer of reality, the physical layer. And the ancient teachers, the ones whose wisdom I am drawing from today, they understood with extraordinary precision that money is not only a physical object. Money is a form of energy. It has a frequency. It is attracted to certain conditions and repelled by others. And the families who have known this, who have transmitted this knowing across generations in a way that most people never receive, those families do not look at their money management as separate from their spiritual practice. They are the same thing, the same discipline, the same intention, aimed at the same outcome. And that is not mysticism. That is psychology at the deepest level, confirmed now by decades of behavioral research, even for those who need a secular framework to receive it. Stay with me, because this is where the teaching gets specific. I want to tell you about a man I will call David. He is real. He gave me permission to share his story, though I have changed identifying details. David was 44 years old when he came to a study session I was running in a private home. He was not struggling in the traditional sense. He had income, he had stability, but he described his finances the way a person describes a leak they cannot find. Every time he tried to build something, something else drained it. Every raise was eaten by a new expense. Every bonus disappeared within 3 months. He was educated, he was disciplined, and he was exhausted. He said to me, and I remember this precisely, "Rabbi, I work like someone who should be wealthy. I live like someone who is always almost there." I asked David to open his wallet and show me what was in it. He looked at me like I had asked something slightly strange, but he opened it. There were 12 bills, various denominations, even number. I asked him, "Is it usually around an even number?" He thought for a moment. He said, "Honestly, yes. I try to keep it neat. I try to keep round amounts." And then I began to explain something to him that his grandfather had known and that his father had forgotten, because the transmission broke in that generation, as it breaks in so many families, not through any fault, but simply because no one sat across from the son the way someone had sat across from the father. I told David about the principle of Zachor velo tomar, which loosely translated means the living and not the closed. In the Kabbalistic understanding of numbers, even numbers represent completion, finality, a closed gate. An even number says, "This is done, this is settled, this needs nothing more." And there is a place for that energy in life. But it is not the energy you want associated with your money, because money that is in motion, money that is growing, money that is attracting more money, that money needs to vibrate at the frequency of the unfinished, the odd number, 3, 7, 11, 13. These are numbers that in the ancient tradition carry the energy of the open door, the incomplete cycle, the invitation for more. An odd number of bills in your wallet is not a magic trick. It is a daily, physical, tactile reminder that your financial life is not closed. It is not finished. It is not settled at this level. There is more coming. And the act of intentionally maintaining that state, that deliberate incompleteness, keeps your mind, your awareness, and your spiritual frequency tuned to the frequency of increase rather than the frequency of maintenance. Now let me make this precise, because precision is how the ancient teachers taught, and it is how I am going to teach you. Because vagueness is where wisdom goes to die. The first principle is this: you do not need large bills, you need an odd count. There is a significant difference. A person with 3 $1 bills in their wallet and an odd count is operating this principle correctly. A person with 12 $100 bills is not. The denomination is not the point. The count is the point. Because the count is what you see every time you open your wallet. The count is what your subconscious registers hundreds of times a week. And your subconscious, this is the second principle, your subconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is consistently repeated. What you show it consistently becomes its model of reality. If every time you open your wallet you see an even number, a closed number, a finished number, your subconscious learns, this is what financial completion looks like for me. This is the ceiling. And it will defend that ceiling with extraordinary creativity. You will find ways to spend the extra bill without even consciously deciding to. The second principle, the odd count must be intentional, not accidental. If you reach into your pocket and notice you happen to have 7 bills, that is not the practice. The practice is that you make it 7. You consciously decide when you are preparing for the day that your wallet contains an odd number of bills. You look at it. You acknowledge it. You say, internally or aloud, "My financial life is open. There is more coming. This is not a closed chapter." This takes 11 seconds. But those 11 seconds, repeated with intention every morning for 3 weeks, begin to rewire the way your mind relates to money at a level far deeper than any budgeting strategy can reach. The third principle, and this one is the one most people skip because it is uncomfortable, you must remove bills deliberately when you spend, and you must restore the odd count before the day ends. This is the active maintenance of the principle. When you spend and drop from 7 to 6, you have 2 choices. Spend 1 more to get to 5, or add 1 to get to 7. Either is correct. The point is that you do not let the day end with an even count. Not because the universe punishes even numbers, but because the discipline of returning to the odd count every evening is a daily act of financial intention. It says, "I am not passive about this. I am not letting the day dictate my financial state. I am choosing the open door before I sleep. Now." David did not experience a miracle within 48 hours. I want to be completely honest with you about that because I refuse to teach you with false promises. What David experienced in the first 2 weeks was something subtler and in many ways more powerful than a sudden windfall. He began to notice money differently. He noticed when he had been careless with spending, not with guilt, but with clarity. He noticed opportunities he had been too mentally closed to see before. A conversation with a colleague turned into a consulting arrangement he had not sought. A piece of land his family owned and had always assumed was worthless turned out to be rezoned and worth pursuing. None of this happened because 7 bills in a wallet summoned money from the sky. It happened because a small, daily, intentional practice had begun to shift the frequency of his awareness. And awareness shifted is always, in my 33 years of watching this, always the precursor to financial movement. Within 2 months, David had restructured his income in a way that added what he described as a third income stream I didn't create. It just appeared because I finally saw it. That is the language of someone whose inner gate has opened. I want to give you the 4th principle before we go to the close, because it is the one the tradition considers the seal of the practice. When you give, when you offer money to someone in need, when you contribute to a cause, when you tip, when you give to charity, give from your odd count and restore it afterward. This is what the ancient teachers called the reseeding principle. In the tradition, you never give from a place of depletion. You give from a place of overflow, and then you immediately signal to your subconscious that overflow is the normal state by restoring the odd count before you go to sleep. Giving, followed by intentional restoration, is the most powerful form of this practice, because it trains your mind in the deepest way that money that leaves your hands is not a loss of something finite. It is a seed, and seeds, by definition, return as more than they were when they left. There is a fifth principle I want to give you before we close, and it is perhaps the most counterintuitive of all of them, which is why I saved it for here. In this tradition, there is a teaching that says, never let your wallet be completely empty, not even for a moment. This sounds simple. It sounds almost obvious. But look at the behavior of most people, and you will see how consistently this principle is violated. Most people, when they are waiting for payday, when they are between moments of income, when they have spent down to the edge, many people carry an empty wallet or leave their wallet at home because it feels pointless to carry something empty. And I am telling you that this is one of the most costly behaviors I have ever observed in otherwise intelligent people. A wallet is not a storage device. It is a signal. It is the primary physical object in your life that is dedicated entirely to your relationship with money. And when you allow that object to be empty, when you send it out into the world empty, when you reach into your bag and feel it empty, you are training your subconscious hundreds of times a week in a single clear message. Lack is normal. Empty is the default. This is what my financial life looks like. The subconscious does not reason. It does not say, yes, but payday is Thursday. It records the sensation. Empty, lack, normal. And then it goes to work defending that normal. Opportunities that would have been visible become invisible. Decisions that would have been bold become timid. The energy contracts. The gate closes a little more each time. This is why the tradition teaches that you should always, always have something in your wallet. Even one bill. Even a bill of the smallest denomination. The practice is not about the amount. It is about the signal. A wallet that always contains something, even a little, is a wallet that says, I am not empty. I am not in lack. I am a channel of provision, and provision is always flowing through me, even when the volume is lower than I want. That signal, sustained daily, across months and years, becomes the baseline your subconscious defends. And a subconscious defending abundance behaves in measurably different ways from a subconscious defending scarcity. I have watched this. It is not theoretical. Now I want to warn you about something, because this is the part of the teaching that most people are not prepared for. And without this warning, many people abandon a practice precisely at the moment it is beginning to work. In the weeks after you begin this practice, perhaps 3 weeks in, perhaps a month in, something will happen that will feel like proof that it is not working. A bill will come that feels impossible. An opportunity will fall through. A number you were hoping for will not appear. And in that moment, every part of your analytical mind will say, this is foolish. You are counting bills in a wallet while real problems exist. And I am telling you now, before it happens, that this is the test. Not a metaphorical test, a literal, predictable, almost mechanical test that comes precisely because something in your financial frequency is shifting. The old pattern, the one that kept the ceiling in place, does not release without resistance. It never has, in 3,000 years of this wisdom being observed. What looks like proof that it is not working is often the last surge of the old frequency trying to reassert itself. Stay. Continue the practice. Name the test out loud when it comes. Say, I was warned about this. I know what this is. And move through it. Now, if you want the complete architecture, not just this one principle, but the full framework of how these ancient wisdom traditions approach wealth at the level of the spirit, the mind, and the daily physical practice, I have put together a complete resource that walks through 7 additional principles from this lineage in the same kind of detail I gave you today. Not surface-level inspiration, step by step, principle by principle, with the historical context, the Kabbalistic foundation, and the exact daily applications. You will find the link in the description below. It is for people who are serious, not for people who are browsing. If you watch this entire teaching, you are likely one of those people. Tell me in the comments, what is the one financial habit you are going to change first after today's teaching? Not what inspired you, what you are actually going to do differently tomorrow morning. I want to know who is taking action. I read these comments personally. Write it below. If this teaching brought you something real today, subscribe to this channel. We go this deep every single week. Ancient wisdom that is not abstract, not motivational, precise, practical, and tested across generations. Subscribe now so you do not miss what comes next. And if something in you recognized the truth of what was shared here today, if it landed not just in your mind but somewhere deeper, press the like button. It tells this platform that wisdom like this belongs in front of more people. It is an act of generosity. It costs you nothing, and it could change everything for someone who is silently searching for exactly what you just found. You came here today with a question. I hope you are leaving with something more valuable. Not an answer, but a practice. Not inspiration that fades by morning, but a discipline so small and so precise that it takes 11 seconds and costs nothing, and yet speaks to the part of you that knows money is not just paper. It is a frequency, and you have the ability to tune it. Beginning tomorrow morning, beginning with the count in your wallet. May what is sealed in your life be opened. May what has been stagnant begin to move. May the effort you have been putting in finally meet the principle it has been missing, and may the result be something worth the wait. Go in peace. Shalom.